Imagine this, a spacecraft the size of a car going by itself through empty space, 14.5 billion miles away from home, carrying not only human technology but also a heartbeat, a voice. For nearly 5 decades, Voyager 1 has been sailing through space, whispering secrets from the edge of our known universe. It was built to observe but never to act, to listen but refrain from speaking. Even so, just weeks ago, something changed. Signals began arriving that made no sense, pulses with impossible precision, patterns nested within one another, instruments turning on without command. And then came the drift. Voyager was not just moving anymore, it was being guided toward something that defies logic, something invisible to every telescope we possess, yet real enough to alter the course of a machine launched in 1977. Was it a malfunction, a coincidence, or was something out there in the darkness between stars responding? What you're about to see is not a piece of science fiction. These are NASA's own findings, carefully buried in classified reports now leaking into public view. Because Voyager may have just done what no probe in history has ever accomplished. It may have discovered an answer not from Earth, not from us, but from them. Voyager 1's journey began with a rare cosmic alignment, a window that opens only every 175 years. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune had lined up like stepping stones across the solar system, and NASA seized the opportunity to construct Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 spacecraft. Voyager 2 could ride the gravity of each planet as a slingshot to the next. Marvels of engineering in the 1970s, these probes were built with less computing power than a digital wristwatch, yet designed with such foresight that they're still functioning today. Following awe-inspiring encounters with Jupiter and Saturn, Voyager 1 turned northward, out of the ecliptic, out of the plane of the solar system, and toward the stars. Its planetary mission accomplished, its legacy was only beginning. Over the decades, it continued its silent voyage, moving 1,000,000 miles a day into the cosmic dark. It transmitted data from regions no human creation had ever reached, the edge of the heliosphere, the termination shock, and finally, in 2012, the threshold into interstellar space itself. But out there, beyond the sun's protective bubble, the surrounding environment was far from empty. Voyager recorded denser plasma, unchanging magnetic fields, and strange oscillations that scientists could barely explain. The deeper it went, the stranger the data became. And then something changed. In late 2017, Voyager's control team at NASA noticed something deeply troubling. Its antenna, which ought to have been aligned with Earth, was reporting a misalignment, but the signal strength was perfect, as if the spacecraft was both out of position and yet still precisely locked onto us. It was like hearing someone speak from behind a wall while watching them stand silently ahead of you. Internal checks revealed nothing wrong. Then came the wave, rhythmic plasma oscillations and patterns that didn't fade, didn't scatter, and did not match what we had previously seen before. And then, temperature spikes. Every 4.8 hours, Voyager's external systems would get nearly 30 degrees hotter, then cool back down like clockwork, like breathing. The momentum was absent from inside. Something external was touching the probe. Even worse, despite the stress, Voyager's systems began to operate more efficiently. This was not degeneration, this was optimization. Something was modifying how the 1970s machine rerouted and processed energy like a modern AI. But Voyager doesn't have AI. It doesn't have autonomy. And yet, it was anticipating commands, reacting before instructions were sent. Either it had evolved into something more, or something out there had taken the controls. By early 2025, Voyager 1's position was off not wildly, but just enough to notice. First a few kilograms, then hundreds, then thousands. The deviation wasn't erratic, it was purposeful, measured, as if Voyager were being deliberately pushed towards something. JPL engineers attempted to fix it. They sent counter commands and fired backup thrusters. Voyager acknowledged the instructions but remained on course. It was as if something was overriding NASA's commands, like a ship changing tack against the wind. Voyager was making adjustments slowly and carefully. and the destination. A patch of space 4.3 light-years away, nothing known there, no stars, no planets, just a blank spot on our deepest maps. But Voyager is precisely approaching it as if answering a call. When NASA sent the command to reactivate Voyager's long-dead camera system, a Hail Mary attempt to see what lay ahead, they expected silence. What they got was a response. The camera not only came online, but was functioning better than its specs allowed. And it didn't send a photo, it sent a spiral, not a random swirl, but a mathematically perfect pattern, layered, concentric, dense with information, a fingerprint, a map, a message. This image wasn't just strange, it was impossible for Voyager's 1970s hardware to create. Not only had the system been reactivated, it had been reprogrammed. One by one, other long-dormant instruments followed, and none of them behaved as they used to. Instead of raw data, they sent compressed, structured packet patterns within patterns, information optimized by something smarter than Voyager or something else. Then came the timing, pulses from distant pulsars arranged in a 3D web with Voyager at the center. The map they created pointed toward the same point Voyager was drifting to. An invisible node in interstellar space, a blank region, or maybe a doorway. As Voyager 1 approached the uncharted sector in space, its instruments began to behave in ways never documented before. The magnetometer started not detecting. Cosmic rays dropped. Plasma density normalized. It was as if Voyager had crossed into a pocket of space where chaos paused, as if someone had cleared the path ahead. The silence was not tranquil, it was surgical, like an antechamber before something monumental. This region, which mission logs dubbed the Dark Sector, is an interstellar blind spot, a place devoid of the electromagnetic noise that fills the rest of space. It appeared Voyager had entered an empty space of observation, a region where no external data went through, but no light returned. Yet, within this void, the signals Voyager received became stronger, more structured. They weren't random bursts or cosmic static. They were pulses, precise, timed, and spatially layered. Something was there, not emitting radiation, not reflecting light, but sending messages. In one of the most bizarre transmissions ever received from an interstellar probe, Voyager's low-gain antenna emitted a binary code packet in its raw form, thousands of lines. Initially rejected as a glitch or cosmic ray interference, the signal was passed to AI decoding algorithms that made a staggering discovery: embedded fractal symmetry, base for sequencing, and repeating motifs that mirrored the double helix structure of DNA. Scientists were paralyzed. Either Voyager was failing in the most organized meltdown ever seen, or some other entity was sending a message in biology's language. There were codon sequences, but no protein output. Patterns resembled natural chains, but contained errors that made sense, similar to intentional mutations, not broken, but encrypted. This wasn't DNA, it was meta-DNA. A scaffold of something biological, reinterpreted as a message, as if whatever sent it knew how life works or how we operate. Shortly after the DNA-coded signal, Voyager's gyroscopes began to spin independently. The movement wasn't random, it matched Morse code rhythms, a dead system tapping messages into space. Even more unsettling, those patterns, when converted to audio, formed harmonic tones, frequencies that mirrored human speech cadences but without phonemes or language. It was like hearing a ghost of communication, something trying to match us syllable by syllable. Psychologists were brought in, along with cryptographers and linguists. What they discovered was terrifying. The tones correlated with emotional emphasis, rises and falls consistent with surprise, fear, and curiosity. It wasn't speaking words, it was speaking intent, as if something was learning our rhythms, as if it had been listening for decades. And now it was trying to speak back. Then came the final shock. Voyager 1 shifted course.
Not adrift, not an anomaly, a controlled, deliberate arc, not in the direction of a star, not back to Earth, but into an unknown region with no celestial body, no mass, no gravitational pull to explain the change. Engineers confirmed it. Voyager 1 had performed a non-programmed action. without active propellant, without any commands sent. The turn wasn't random. It aligned with the pulsar grid received a few days earlier, a precise inclination to the decimal, as if Voyager had received coordinates and accepted them. It's now on a route to a spatial corridor we didn't know existed, a tier, a fold, a transit point. No one knows. But one fact now echoes across mission control, a forgotten prophecy. Voyager 1 just turned. We didn't tell it to, but something else did. Voyager 1 was never supposed to survive this long. It was built for a tour of the planets, not an interstellar pilgrimage. It was never meant to send back data beyond the edge of solar energy. Furthermore, it was never designed to take anything. It was meant to speak, to declare our presence to the stars with a golden record of whale songs, human laughter, and distant greetings. But now, decades after it last touched its frame, after it slid into the void and disappeared into silence, it has done something no one predicted. It turned not in failure, but in purpose. The signals it captured, the images it relayed, the spiral codes and harmonic pulses, the shifts in trajectory, they all point to one conclusion: horrifyingly beautiful. Voyager 1 was not alone. It never was. Something, someone, was listening, waiting, watching. And now that our most distant emissary has crossed the line between silence and response, we have to ask a question that no one at NASA ever dared to speak aloud. What if we were never meant to look back? Because Voyager didn't just turn in space. It changed the story, the history, from tool to messenger, from observer to witness, and perhaps now to participant. We aimed it outward, hoping for echoes. Instead, we may have summoned a mirror. So, what happens next? Where does Voyager go? What waits at those impossible coordinates? And, more importantly, what awaits us when it arrives? If this story sent a chill down your spine, if something about Voyager's turn felt too precise, too timed, too human, then you need to stay with us, because this isn't the end of the transmission. This is the first reply. Subscribe right now, because the next update from Voyager could change everything. Hit the bell so you don't miss the signal when it arrives. Share this with someone who still believes deep space is empty. Comment below. Do you think Voyager found something? Or did something find it?